Hello everyone, Happy New Year. Hope you had a great holiday season. I used that time to watch as many films that I didn't get to see earlier so I can start the new year with my top favorite films of 2021. It was an interesting year for film. More of them started coming out in theaters again, some of them I saw on streaming platforms, and some I even managed to see at film festivals. I am excited to share this list with you because I think I have a pretty eclectic and diverse group of films that a lot of people can enjoy. So without further ado, enjoy the rest of this video. The first to start this list and my 10th favorite of the year is a new HBO documentary called Listening to Kenny G. It is a part of HBO's Music Box series, which is a collection of 5 films each exploring different musicians or people in the music industry. Each film is directed by a different director, and Listening to Kenny G was directed by Penny Lane. I only knew Penny Lane as director of Hail Satan, a polarizing documentary about the intersection of religion and activism which traces the rise of the Satanic Temple in America. Having watched both of these films now, I noticed the commonality between the two, and it is the subject matter which has very polarizing opinions and strong reactions to its growing popularity. In this film, Penny chooses to investigate the life and work of the best-selling instrumentalist of all time, Kenny G. But instead of being simple-minded documentary biopic, Penny uses the symbol and metaphor of Kenny G as a great segue to discuss many important and interesting subjects such as music criticism, popular culture, capitalism, and many more. I knew virtually nothing about Kenny G before this film, and what I love about it is that it doesn't require you to know anything about him to enjoy it. There are many interesting and fascinating storylines and facts woven throughout this film that everyone remotely interested in music and culture can find intriguing. Penny not only interviews Kenny, but uses the opportunity to interview many renowned music critics who have very savage and ruthless opinions about him and the role he plays in the world of jazz music. The clashing opinions and the characters themselves make the film very funny and entertaining to watch from beginning to end. It shows us Kenny as this extremely charismatic virtuoso whose talent and hard work is as prevalent as ever. He practices for hours every day as if he's just started learning how to play. The same tenacity and eagerness for playing music is a constant in his life. Nobody lives and breathes music the way he does, and as the film starts progressing, it becomes obvious why he is as successful as he is. With constant criticism thrown his way, Kenny manages for the most part to dispel the rumors about his life and work with ease and finesse. Having said that, there are a couple of really interesting points brought out by the critics about him and the privileges he was afforded for being who he is. It makes you think hard about subjects you never even considered up to that point. I highly suggest you check it out on HBO Now or HBO Max. It is very thought-provoking and entertaining, and I think you won't regret it. My number 9 film is a new Netflix original, The Lost Daughter. It is a very unusual film, but its unusual nature is what gives it its charm, and it is quite fascinating and mysterious. It is a debut film directed by actress Maggie Gyllenhaal, and it has an all-star cast including Olivia Colman in another career-making role, Jessie Buckley, Dakota Johnson, Ed Harris, Peter Sarsgaard, and perhaps my favorite surprise guest appearance, the talent that is Alba Rochwacher. I knew nothing about the story, I had no idea it was based on a book, and this is the first film Maggie Gyllenhaal directed, so I had no previous knowledge of what she is capable of as a director. Having said all of that, I am pleasantly surprised by this film and how well it clawed its way into me. It follows a college professor who confronts her unsettling past after meeting a woman and her young daughter while alone on vacation in Italy. There she starts exhibiting very unusual and bizarre behavior. What I love most about this film is its brooding, suspenseful atmosphere. It is full of deep, dark, and violent tendencies, just waiting to explode. I also love how information is revealed to the audience, leaving you suspended and wondering about the characters' motivations. The music in the film works very well in telling the story. It gives it some romantic vibes with a sad undertone. The acting is top-notch, and I mean every single actor was perfectly cast for the role they're playing. Even the ones who don't have much screen time, they are all very memorable and feel real. Dakota Johnson in this film is everything. She is mysterious and hauntingly beautiful, her body language spoke for itself, and as her character gets more involved in the story, she gets more and more opportunities to steal the spotlight. Jessie Buckley is the perfect choice to play a younger version of Olivia Colman. I really liked how unapologetic this film is. I love when a director achieves that level of commitment from the audience. I'm definitely going to see this film again, and I can't wait to find myself inside this intoxicating atmosphere while I'm staring at Dakota Johnson from afar, just like Olivia Colman does on screen. And I hope you have a similar experience. My number 8 spot goes to the beauty that is Memoria. Apichatpong Weerasethakul's Memoria is the first film he made outside his home country of Thailand, and first one in English. This time, he explored the landscapes of Colombia, following Jessica, played expertly by the one and only Tilda Swinton, who begins experiencing a mysterious sensory syndrome after hearing a loud bang one morning. This film is a sensory immersive experience. It is an entirely original concept which has very meditative and hallucinatory characteristics. The opening of the film is nothing short of breathtaking, and it relies, like the rest of his filmography, solely on its audiovisual components. Speaking of which, the sound editing and mixing is the best I've ever heard in any film ever. It is such an integral part of the film, and it propels the story deeper and deeper into motion. The soundscapes of Memoria are so diverse and rich, and they create their own language. The more the film progresses, the more nuanced and experimental the soundscapes become. On the other note, I really love the comedic timing certain sound effects create. It made for a very enjoyable experience. I love the trajectory of this film and where it took me psychologically and spiritually. I talked to some people about the film after the screening at a festival in Belgrade, and everyone had their own interpretation, which I like very much. To me, Jessica was a metaphor for an artist who gets struck by an idea so otherworldly and haunting. An idea that changes you forever, and one that finds an artist and not the other way around. The process of extracting that experience and feeling and giving it form and function in the world is precisely that of an artist. I love the way Apichatpong showed us what only she seems to recognize in the film, the way that loud bang at the beginning seems to affect only her, but is then shown affecting the cars and the environment in the parking lot. That to me is another great way of portraying what an artist experiences while creating, which is a way of recognizing that which others deem unrecognizable. It is not something only an artist experiences, but it is definitely something only an artist can recognize and help make it more visible to others. The cinematography is beautiful and poetic. It was done by Apichatpong's frequent collaborator, Sayombu Muktipram, whose style has quickly become my favorite in the industry. He was director of photography for Luca Guadagnino's Call Me By Your Name and Suspiria, and I just love the exposure he's getting by working internationally and making films more beautiful to look at. The script is also well done. I like the pacing and the structure for the most part, although the ending of the film is something I'll be chewing on for some time. It is quite unexpected, and I guess some people can make a great argument for it, but to me it seemed uncalled for. I don't want to pass any great judgments because I've only seen it once and I can't wait to see it again, so I guess in a way it's a good thing. It is not available to stream anywhere per director's request. He wants the film to play in theaters only as a traveling art piece. So if it comes near you, check it out. It is wonderful. And if you want to see it but don't have the opportunity to see it in theaters, just figure it out. Number 7 spot goes to Bergman Island, directed by Mia Hansen-Love. I already made a video dedicated to Bergman Island sometime in November, so if you want my in-depth thoughts about it, you can check it out in the corner in the video. It is simply a breath of fresh air. It is not necessarily a film I can recommend to everyone. The people that can get most out of this film are those who really know film history and have a soft spot for European art cinema. So if that sounds like something you would like to see, check it out on Hulu, Prime Video, and Vudu. My 6th favorite film of 2021 was a stunning debut feature called Shiva Baby. Shiva Baby is one of the most entertaining films I've seen all year. It was directed by Emma Seligman, first as a short film in 2018, and later given an opportunity to further develop, explore, and improve the original idea. I love this film, and I've seen it a couple of times already. It is so well written, funny and energetic and bizarre, and it keeps a good amount of suspense for the entire runtime. The story follows Danielle, a college student who at a family gathering, a Jewish Shiva, comes across her overbearing parents, relatives, ex-girlfriend, and as the topping on the cake, her sugar daddy and his family. Emma Seligman manages to make a film which is an exercise in juxtapositions. So many different themes and scenarios crashing with one another at this exhausting family function, death with sex, traditional with non-traditional, comedy with seriousness, and action with stasis. It is all very well crafted, and despite it showing me a culture I knew very little of, it still manages to speak to me and my experiences as a young person who grew up in an Orthodox religion in the Balkans. It all seems and feels authentic. The cast of this film is a standout. Each character feels like someone I know, and they all share such a great chemistry on screen. The main actress, Rachel Sennett, is perfectly cast for the role of Danielle. At times you forget she's acting because she does such a good job. The camera movements feel organic, and the music creates such a unique, suspenseful energy. The words seem to be improvised more than anything. That's how good the script is. The story Emma is telling is current and bold. It is not flashy and overbearing like some teenage films can be, but instead it opts out for a more realistic approach. It makes you feel part of the story and not just an onlooker. If this feels interesting to you, give it a shot. You can watch it on Amazon Prime, Mubi, and almost everywhere, honestly. So we have finally entered my top 5 favorite films. The number 5 spot goes to the new Romanian film, which I'll award for the best movie title of the year, Bad Luck Banging or Loony Porn, directed by Radu Jude. This film is such a treat. It is so unforgiving, bold, and quite literally crazy. It is an exciting look and dissection of Romanian society, history, culture, politics, and their relationship towards porn, divergences from the norm, and so many other interesting and thought-provoking themes. The story follows a middle school teacher after an explicit video of her and her boyfriend leaks online and creates chaos in her personal and professional life. Now, I read the synopsis of the film before watching it, so I didn't go in there completely blind, although the title sort of speaks for itself. But the synopsis didn't do the film justice. I came in expecting something at least interesting in the story aspect, and I expected it to be presented in a more realistic type of fashion, the way many Romanian New Wave films tend to be shot at. And I love that this film kind of plays with your expectations in that way. It is split into 3 chapters, each with its own style and function. The opening shows you the explicit video and starts the whole gory story into motion. It is vile, personal, and feels like something you shouldn't be watching. It feels like you're invading someone's personal space. The first chapter, on the other hand, really does play out like your regular Romanian New Wave film, with very long and drawn-out scenes where pretty much nothing happens but the mundane. Watching the first chapter, I started becoming very impatient and bored. And after watching this film in its entirety, I see why the director did that. It feels like he's saying that the hard and heavy realism in the Romanian New Wave needs an upgrade, like it's time for a new language and something more exciting which can talk about the current Romanian society the way it should be talked about. And just like that, the second chapter of the film starts and gives us, interestingly enough, a tour of a dictionary of the modern Romanian philosophies, attitudes, behaviors, wants, and needs. And it does so in such a bizarre and unflinching way, and it pulls you out of the chair you're sitting in. It wakes you up from the mundane reality you were subjected to earlier. Now you're being shown, but at the same time invited to decode and form your own attitudes towards the definitions and statistics being shown. It does an excellent job in preparing you for the last chapter of the film, which I will not spoil here, but it is a very satisfying and overwhelming closing, and it for sure will leave no one indifferent. The screenplay for the film is one of my favorites of the year. It is funny, brave, bold, experimental. The cinematography is serviceable, and it gets more and more interesting as the film progresses. The closing shot of the film might be one of my favorite of all time, and it is the most rewarding frame of the film. It is currently on Apple TV and Vudu, but if you are from the Balkans, you can check it out on Mojov streaming platform where I watched it as well. You get to see amazing festival films from all over the world for free for the first month. Definitely check it out. These kinds of films need all the support, so great filmmakers can get to make more of them. And my fourth favorite film of 2021 was Red Rocket. It is the newest film by an American indie favorite, Sean Baker. In tradition of many of his films, he explores the world of people on the fringes of society. In Tangerine, he drove us through the world of trans sex workers. The Florida Project explored the miseries of the world through the eyes of impoverished children. And in Red Rocket, Baker goes balls out with a washed-up porn actor, aka one of the biggest dirtbags I've ever seen on film. The story starts out with Mikey Saber, a beaten up ex-porn star, played brilliantly by Simon Rex, who goes back to his godforsaken hometown somewhere in Texas to his drug-addicted wife and mother-in-law. He begs for them to let him crash for a couple of nights until he finds a real and normal job, but it is evident at the start of the film that a wolf can change its coat but not his character. This film is really well paced and edited. The editing done by Sean Baker himself really give the film character and serve as a reflection of the lifestyle these characters lead, only with one thing in mind. The character of Mikey is explored so thoroughly, and it precisely shows you how such a self-obsessed, pitiful, and manipulative son of a bitch can charm others and seemingly get away from all the responsibility, while others around him paid the ultimate price. He's a walking, talking disaster who's trying by any means necessary to dig his way out of the mess he made. I love the cinematography, which gives the characters a roughness and colorfulness. The film is quite long, but is never boring or non-dynamic because so many things happen in those 2 hours. At times I felt like I was watching a super condensed TV series with all of the meandering parts cut out. It is a film with an original voice and one that has a specific story to tell, and it does so beautifully. It goes into unexpected but at the same time very authentic places. It is one of the best examples of cinéma vérité, which is the style of documentary filmmaking from the 1960s France. It was used to better showcase the reality of the world we live in, everyday situations, natural dialogue, as if you were a witness to something real and not scripted. You can tell Sean Baker really knows film and its deep history and uses it to create a language of its own in the modern times. I see it as a big thank you to all the great directors that came before him and inspired his art. So check this out on Voodoo or wherever you can and have a great time. My third spot goes to one of the most surprising films I saw in 2021, and it was a Norwegian release, The Worst Person in the World, directed by Joachim Trier. It was a close runner-up for the best movie title of the year. Before this, I only saw one film by Joachim Trier, and I enjoyed it, but it didn't leave me with a huge impression. This time, he really blew me away. As of me making this video, this film isn't streaming anywhere, but you can get your hands on it if you really try, if you know what I mean. I can see myself rewatching this film over and over again and catching things I didn't notice the first time. This is a romantic drama film following an indecisive, self-obsessed young woman and her attempts at forming meaningful relationships with people around her. I love how honest and unsentimental this film was. Although working in confounds of a romantic film, it manages to avoid cliches and really examine a particular side of a human condition and the consequences it brings. It merely uses romance as a tool to explore this subject deeper. It is split into 12 chapters with a prologue and an epilogue, and it never overstays its welcome. Each chapter is finely tuned, like an instrument to create a bigger picture. The screenplay is expertly written, and it creates such memorable characters and sucks you inside the world of these people with such ease. The acting is top-notch, and the lead, played by Renate Reinsve, is the perfect person when it comes to portraying this self-serving, oblivious character. She was awarded the Best Actress at Cannes, and I couldn't agree more. She carried this film with such an enticing intuitiveness. She felt so familiar, like some people from my own life, and never once did she falter. Two supportive actors in the film were very good, and they really helped bring the screenplay to life effortlessly. The cinematography was pretty amazing, and there were some really creative sequences all throughout the film. It is beautiful and current, and it doesn't overshadow the story. It is also very funny, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, because it would be making the same mistake the main character keeps on making. Overall, the film is a real and honest portrayal of relationships and the way insecurities can control and destroy your life and the lives of other people around you. It is a film with a firm grip on you and your feelings, and you feel it for days after. My second favorite film of the year is All Light Everywhere. Theo Anthony's All Light Everywhere is not only the best documentary of the year, but in my opinion is one of the best films I've seen in recent times. I can't remember the last time I was this engaged in an up-and-coming director's film. It is quite an ambitious piece of documentary filmmaking, and the lengths to which he goes in order to explore subjects that fascinate him is remarkable. All Light Everywhere examines our relationship towards technology and how they change and impact human behavior. The history of vision examined from cultural, medical, philosophical, societal, and political aspects makes this film a revelation. Every perspective is like peeling an onion, and you never want it to stop. I love how Theo mixes in different stances and gives every participant freedom to speak and share their ideas on such a complicated and dense subject matter. Each second in the film is unpredictable, and I'm glad he recognizes that quality of life and transfers it masterfully through his film. He reaches into the unknown and unexplored parts of humanity and investigates them with such distinctive fashion. What also quickly becomes evident in his film is the passion with which he approaches his themes. The cinematography and styles of filmmaking which pop up in just one film really show how diverse his palette is and can be in the future. It is artistic and innovative and in all of its own. One specific part of the film which analyzes the history of body cameras used by police officers is one of the most engaging parts of the whole story. It dives deep into the way body cameras can be used and abused when it comes to America's black community, especially the one in Baltimore, Maryland, Theo's hometown. His investigation really makes you think about the notions of objectivity, consumption of media, and abuse of power in ways that you never thought about before. It also exposes the blind spots of our vision and how it affects our perceptions and impacts our lives. It is very rare to find something like this, and whenever it happens, I just get giddy and inspired all over again. The way cameras affect our lives is something very near and dear to my heart as someone who wants to be a director myself and someone who consumes media and film every day. If you're interested, you can catch it streaming on Hulu. I really hope you check it out and share your thoughts with me. And my number one spot goes to Bo Burnham's Inside. Now, I know this project hardly constitutes as a film since it is classified as a TV comedy special on IMDb, but in my opinion, Bo Burnham's Inside transcends genres and mediums and creates a unique and unforgettable experience with more skill and passion than 90% of what we see in cinemas today. Inside is his latest output, which he wrote, shot, directed, edited, and composed completely by himself while locked inside his home during the first year of COVID. It is another great Netflix original release. Thank you, Netflix, and keep them coming. I don't know where exactly to begin this review, but it is safe to say that Inside is Bo Burnham's most impressive piece of work to date. Before Inside, I've only vaguely known of Bo Burnham as a person from YouTube, and I saw his debut feature film, 8th Grade, which I enjoy, but it definitely didn't leave a strong impression on me. After watching Inside, I've definitely gotten interested in his output, and I realized he has this great talent for fusing comedy with music and performance in his specials. I don't think any other film this year reflects the honesty and talent of their makers with such purity as Inside does with Bo Burnham. This honestly feels like 21st century Bohemian Rhapsody as a film. He's a very gifted musician and manages to create such catchy and unforgettably funny and witty songs. Many songs from this special became viral on the internet, and it just proved how big of a part he plays in the cultural zeitgeist on the internet. Creating something like this during COVID is such an impressive and laudable act. He does so much with so little, and never once do you get bored or fed up with his quirks and musings. He manages to guide you through his mental state during the lockdown with such universal nuance and precision. I think any young person alive today can relate to this film, and what that relatability does so well a year after COVID is that it recontextualizes your own experiences and shines a new perspective on them. I think it functions so well because everyone has had time to get used to COVID and settle down within themselves to properly tackle the subject retrospectively from a healthy distance. His creativity is off the charts, his editing is very commendable, the cinematography, which has to tackle such a small setting, really is outstanding, and his writing is brilliant and thoughtful. Some songs are downright heartbreaking and delirious in their lyrics and melodies. It really struck a chord with me like no other work of cinema this year, and I'm still thinking about it and still humming all the songs from it months after it came out. Bo Burnham deserves all the praise and accolades for this masterwork. Please do yourself a favor and see it with your own eyes and hear with your own ears, because nothing I say here does it justice. Oh, and have fun. You deserve it.